Welcome to Geek News Now. This is MCU Mondays. My name's Chris. I'm one of your hosts. Got Debbie over there. That's another of your hosts. And we're joined by David down below. Glad to have him here with us. Debbie, how are you today?
Good. I'm ready to talk some X-Men.
X-persons, but
Whatever.
Okay. The X-Men. No, I'm jazzed. I'm ready to talk about it. We're gonna have to one of these days talk about the cartoons because those were just fantastic. I remember watching those all the time when I was a kid. But when the live action movies came out, they were pretty good. Last week we talked about the trilogy, X-Men, X2, and X-Men 3, the final stand, the last stand. What a mess that one was. But this week we're getting even messier with X-Men Origins, X-Men First Class, and the Wolverine. That's the next three movies. We're going chronologically as they came out. So those are the next three, and it's quite a batch. I'm going to go out on a limb and say my favorite, and a lot of people's favorite out of these three, is probably First Class. That's not to say that there weren't good things in the Wolverine. Lots of good things we're going to talk about. That's not to say there weren't some good things in X-Men Origins, because there were some but that, oh my gosh, the tragedies of that one. But that anyway, that we're gonna get into it. Very much looking forward to it. Before we do that, we've got to have our theme song. Where's the theme song guy?
Theme song guy.
Oh yeah!
Here we are. All right, so that was all First Class stuff because that's the one I watched most recently because it was the one I hadn't seen the longest. But we'll talk about them in order, so we'll get there. I'm very much looking forward to that. But X-Men Origins Wolverine, compared to the trilogy, the first trilogy, the original X-Men trilogy, if you will, it's a prequel. It goes back and it looks at Wolverine.
It looks at Wolverine's origin.
How did Wolverine get to be Wolverine? And there's no better time than now. If you're a big Wolverine fan, we do have a magnificent Wolverine music video on our YouTube page. And let's give it a little look right now. Can't listen to it, but it's the song Bad Company. I really like that beginning. I was born, shotgun in my hands, weapon in my hands. He obviously has that weapon in his hands. And that's from...
Uh-oh.
Who knew?
What
It
a
is
time
a
for that
great
to happen.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right? That's a good pause though. That's meme worthy.
Yep. Oh, I love it when they're meme worthy. But yeah, that's that scene right there. That is...
Oh my. Come back, Chris. Come back.
There's no place like home. Don't go to the light.
Oh, Lordy. Anyways, it's a great video. Go check it out. It's on our YouTube channel.
I haven't seen it yet.
There's
Oh.
another good pause.
Looks like we're back.
That's yeah. I don't know what happened there.
Is
I guess
storming?
it doesn't want me. It is currently actually, so that might be part of it. But I don't think it
Oh no.
wants me showing off too much of that music video because it's too good. It wants you to go watch it yourself. But yeah, the X-Men Origins, the scene where they actually put the metal into him, I think is one of the biggest pluses of that movie. Like things to look at and be like, what do you like about this movie? The whole going in, because we'd only seen that before in flashbacks. But when they go in with the needles, you see like the bone crunching through and different stuff, and then the pouring in and him just being awake through it all. And one of the people's like, aren't you going to sedate him or something? It's like, it wouldn't work. That doesn't work. Okay, so he's just getting liquid hot metal injected into his bones.
Now,
Walk
I'm
it
gonna
off.
go. Yeah, walk it off. Rub some
Rock
dirt
that,
on it.
Buttercup.
I will say this because I watched all three of I watched all three of these movies at work today. I basically turned them on my phone and was just listening to them. And there were some lull in activity at work, so I was able to catch a little bit of Origins. Was actually First Class I caught most of, but Origins was one of the ones and honestly, Debbie, I gotta hand it to you. After watching it again, Liv Schreiber, in my opinion, does a decent Sabretooth. It's not amazing, but the way he carries himself and the way he acts it's
Here's one scene where I can get, like, I tell you, it's one of my favorite ones out of this movie too. Since you brought up Liev Schreiber, absolutely, he did a great job in this role. But the one where he's going to talk to the guy, the Hobbit, who can he has electricity powers in this, and he's like, "I'm not afraid to die," and he's like, "How do you know if you've never tried it before?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a good response."
Because he's based on previous parts of the movie, he had tried it before.
Yeah, several times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I much prefer. I don't know, the Sabretooth in the other trilogy. I mean, was that supposed to be his brother too? I mean, I really didn't get.
That's
why.
the same. But by then he was mind wiped, so he didn't.
He had no clue.
He didn't even remember his name was James Howlett by that point. He was just Logan. You know what I mean? So this was a whole. Yeah, he had no idea. That's supposed to be the same Sabretooth, I think, but they went way more with the.
I think if you look at it, and maybe, and this is always the way I just kind of envisioned it, because the Sabretooth in the first movie was a lot more comic accurate. It was a lot closer to what he looks like in the comic books. The big hulking animal looking thing, and here he's obviously very human looking. Now, my thought on this is that maybe he's kind of like Beast in X-Men First Class, where he's letting more and more of the mutant gene take over him and transform him into the hulking beast that we see in the first X-Men movie. That's always the way it kind of played out in my mind, just so I would be comfortable thinking, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's Sabretooth. We'll be good.
Yeah, that don't work for me.
It's
just inconsistency for me. I
hear you.
And once again, they had I was going to say Picard. They had Charles walking again. And I'm just like, how does this even happen?
He got Gene to pick him up and move his legs for him.
What are you always looking for up there, Charles?
Inconsistency.
Although, again, the other thing I really liked about this movie was the opening credits, which this is a scene from that, but just a very quick progression through all those wars and just seeing him running and fighting in each one. And then that's how they get recruited. It very quickly because it opens with him as a kid murdering his father, who he thinks is, he doesn't understand the whole story there. Finds out he's half brothers with this guy. Then they run away. And from there, it starts with the opening credits, cutting through these different wars and just showing very quickly, these guys have been fighting in every conflict. This is what they do. They go out and they fight. Why? Well, it shows them get hit by a cannonball and then pop back up for the next war. Because they can't die. And that was the thing that the Colonel Stryker or whatever says when he picks him up to recruit him. He's like, I heard you boys were scheduled for execution yesterday. It's like, yep, it tickled. They tried to kill us, and here we are. Very cool. And you can definitely see why they'd be perfect for a special ops team. They've been mercenaries. That's basically what they were. Now you're just part of an elite X-Force, if you will.
Well, and also during that montage there at the beginning, you can kind of see why they start butting heads because,
Liev Schreiber goes to, that's why they're up for execution,
Yeah.
That's like the last
He
scene.
just
He's
goes
looking forward
bonkers.
to the because he goes to rape that chick, and Logan's like, "Can you not?" And then they get into a fight, but then they still team up against all the MPs that come over, so they're both, taken to be executed. But that, does what it does, which is nothing. And then they're like, "Hey, you want to meet this fella, this handsome devil?"
Oh, Ryan.
I liked his Deadpool at that part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
His Wade Wilson.
Wade Wilson,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This is Wade Wilson. I really liked that they took the scene where he's deflecting the bullets, and they use that in the Deadpool movie, Deadpool 2, and he does it, and he's like, and then he looks down and he's full of bullet holes. He's like, wow, bullets go really fast. Like that's another reason why I do love this movie, because there's nonsense in it, but that then is used in like the Deadpool movies as joke fodder, and I'm like, yes, yes. But I did. This is right when he cuts that bullet in half and it hits the two guys behind him, which that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I can admit that was cool.
It's just the crap that happened afterwards.
And also in the first Deadpool, where the one dude's getting angry, he was like, "Maybe I should sew your mouth shut," and Ryan Reynolds was like, "I wouldn't do that." Because that's what they do in this, and it was a huge mistake, and everyone did. Like, that's again okay. So the bad parts of this, I thought the love fest between. I know they were trying to make us care about this like the woman that Logan got with,
Kayla.
Yeah, they tell the whole story of like the Wolverine, blah blah blah. I was just like, this is just going on too long. For me, can we get back to? I know they were trying to build up emotion for her, but it was literally so they could just kill her. Oh wait, no, she's not dead. That was just so they could manipulate Wolverine, and at that point, my gosh, he's got to be feeling pretty foolish. It was great though to see how he got beaten by Sabretooth before he got the medal, and then once he has it and they fight again, it's like, oh, you've got an advantage, sir.
Ooh, shiny.
That was a great line.
And I think Wade Wilson also has another great line. It's like, so what do you do other than have the nails of a bag lady? And it's like, and that's the funniest thing too, because Sabretooth, like, I get it, claws and everything, but still, it's like, compared to the Wolverine, compared to his bone claws, it's still kind of like, you can grow your fingernails. But then compared to like his metal monster knives, it's laughable. And they also revealed that the only reason that they didn't give it to him was that his healing abilities weren't up to Wolverine's level. So he might have had more natural fighting ability, capacity, stronger, things like that. But then once you put in the adamantium, that gives Wolverine the clear edge.
there was something too when they did Wolverine's adamantium, and they said something like the body's not rejecting it. Like, it's like, oh, they've tried this before and somebody has done this and it's rejected it. And I'm wondering if they looked at Sabretooth and said that very easily could happen to him, because it's happened to every other one we've tried it on.
And he doesn't have the healing to keep up with it. And yeah, that's why, like, also, I think Wolverine was what, like X10 originally, something like that? Like, because they had gone through that many other. And then his daughter, or clone daughter, or whatever, in the Logan movie, there's like, what, X
23, I think.
23 or something like that. Yeah. So you could see like more experiments, things like that happening.
Oh, and Wade Wilson in this one was X11.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Yeah, I mean,
he was from a pool of all the dead mutants.
Deadpool is gonna. Yeah, that was a good. I like his comic origins, and they did an okay job of doing that in the movie. It's not. In the Deadpool movies, like, oh, who did we get in the Deadpool? So they still have this bet on who's going to die as mercenaries. But in the comics, it was literally the people who were being experimented on. And that was like the pool going. And then when he gets out, he's like, I'm Deadpool. The man cannot die. Pretty good stuff. And as Wade Wilson in this movie, very good. I also enjoyed Will.i.am. Kind of ridiculous to see Will.i.am, but I like teleporters. So
I liked for I can't even think of the actor's name. Fred Dukes.
Fred Dukes.
Logan, you're real
What
funny.
did you call me?
Did you just call me Blob?
Blah. Easy there, bub. Did you just call me Blob?
I told you not to mention this. Wait, what'd you call him Blob for?
I called him Bub. Yeah. And then Wolverine's like, screw this boxing glove, and he just shoots his claws through it. Whoa. All right. We're just going all out. But Will.i.am, I also like how he dies. It's another great Leaf Driver moment there. He goes to teleport. He anticipates where he's going to be and just grabs his spine. Ow. Yoink. That's like a finishing move in Mortal Kombat. He just drops. All right.
Did you guys like Gambit at all?
I was just about to say Gambit. I love Gambit. I love the X-Men Gambit. In this, I was like, I feel like they just kind of threw him in there because they knew people loved Gambit, but
I think he was
the best job with it. I don't think.
I think he was a throwaway character,
which is so unfortunate.
Like I said, or like you said, just because the fans are screaming for Gambit, so here.
Weren't they going to do a standalone on him?
They were
Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum, yeah.
But that, you know how everything got screwed up with Fox and the X-Men, so that kind of got screwed up as well. But I would have loved to see with the comedy that Channing Tatum's come into. I think he would have been great. Now I don't know if he's getting too old, but I don't know.
I thought that one kind of died because I know they were supposed to do X-Men Origins for Storm. And one or two
they had
a
bunch of plans for different stuff like that.
And then Wolverine kind of flopped, and they said, "Well, maybe we just ought to
really pay attention to what we're doing, and maybe not do things like graft over Wolverine's mouth. He's the Merc
with a
mouth. With a mouth. he's the Merc with. How do you get it so wrong? Unbelievable.
Yeah, he showed a little bit, but I mean, when I had first seen the movie, I was just like,
did you watch the post-credit scene though?
Yeah, well, there were like a couple different ones actually for that movie, but and he talks and he says something.
He says, "Shh."
Oh yeah, what a mess! Dude, I was watching it, and then the swords come out of his forearms, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And then he shoots lasers. I'm like, "Why?" And then the teleport, I was like, "Well, he can teleport, but he has a device that allows him to teleport." In the comics, that sometimes uses tech to do stuff like that. His only powers are healing and basic agility, stamina, strength, kind of up to superhuman levels. But other than that, he's just healing. He can't shoot laser beams. He can't teleport. He doesn't have katanas that come out of your forearms. But just because he was using them earlier, that's not a good way to use them. Okay. Well, we're talking about X-Men Origins, so if there's a time for me to go off about X-Men Origins Deadpool, it's probably right now. But the whole end of it. Okay, another great thing from Deadpool 2, when he has the time traveling machine and he's fixing mistakes and he goes back to this movie and shoots that Deadpool in the head and then waves to Luke, and I'm just like, yes! So, like, again, I'm very glad that they made this movie.
Just fixing the
Sometimes
timeline.
you don't know it until like 10 years later that, like, I never thought, leaving the theater, okay, right? I never thought that I would say the words, I'm really glad that they did that movie that way. But I am, in a weird way. Like, would it have been better then for them to do something different? Yes, but it worked out so many jokes for Deadpool. Things just got effed up in the most colossal way. Well, maybe not the most colossal. It shows, like, an action figure of him from X-Men Origin, and he's like,
no. He
this
said,
is my most prized
"This
possession."
is my most prized possession." He picks it up, and it was the Wham album that's underneath the little figure.
Underneath the
Great classic.
That's really well done, and so I have to say, thank you, X-Men Origins Wolverine. Wouldn't have had that otherwise.
Thank you for giving us some comic fodder.
It ended up working. Now it's not like they planned it, and luckily no one's coming along and acting like they did plan it that way, like they constantly do in the MCU, where they're like, "Look, yeah, that was Spider-Man in the Iron Man mask. Sure, why not? Calm down. All right, you didn't know
that. Come on,
it's not intentional. You messed up. All right, admit it, and then make jokes about it." X-Men Origins Wolverine. It's good. I don't know. You got any more you want to say on that? Adamantium bullets. Takes 2 in the dome.
I didn't like. I like the way that Stryker ended up, to where
Walk.
she said walk until your feet bleed, and then walk some more. And then it showed him at the end, and his shoes are all worn out and everything. But and this is just as bad as the Deadpool scene, if you ask me, is that scene where Logan's in the old couple's bathroom, and he pulls those claws out for the first time, and they just
screws up the sink.
Well, it looks awful.
CGI.
The CGI is terrible.
He clinks them together.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, don't do that. That's just no. It was really bad. I didn't like that, but
I agree. Yeah, I remember seeing that, and it's like you can really tell, and it's surprising because, the first X-Men movie came out how long ago?
Well, this one came out in 2009.
I'm just saying, like the claws in the first
one
X-Men
came out
that was
in
2000, I think.
So yeah, it was.
I mean, like,
see, they weren't overdone. That looked good.
That was probably because that was mostly practical effects.
Yeah, the CGI in the Origins movie, I was just like, what the hell is that?
What'd you think of
you did so well before. Why would you screw it up?
Well, because it's the same thing. Because they went past, like, the 2000s up until even a little bit later was kind of the end of a period I like to think of as like a golden age of CGI, not because it was the best CGI, but because they only used it when they had to, and everything else was practical effects, like Jurassic Park, Terminator, stuff like that.
No,
and that's
the king crown of that was the Matrix, and I don't think they,
Matrix, that was
they
around
used
2000.
practical effects. Now you go into Matrix 2, and they're like, CGI.
They started doing it all over the place because they're like, people love this stuff, and the fact was, at that point, it wasn't good enough to be used everywhere. And then you have stuff like the Uncanny Valley, and then you have the entire. Eventually, they did an entire like Beowulf, I think, which, and the Polar Express, where it's like, let's do this entire movie.
I like the Polar Express.
I'm not saying the movie is bad. I'm just saying it's some kind of looks.
No, I think it. I think it's just the way it needs to look.
Okay, hey,
it's a beautiful movie.
Difference of opinions, that's fine.
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
Be offended. We live in a democracy. We're gonna have different ideas. Deal with it. Anything else on Origins? Or are we ready to go to First Class?
Go to First Class.
First Class.
First Class.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lensher.
Charles Xavier.
Go fuck yourself.
Nice.
Awesome cameo by Wolverine. Yes, he's in all 3 of these films. In fact, he's in almost every X-Men movie that ever came out.
No, I think he is in every X-Men movie that ever came out.
Was he in Dark Phoenix?
I haven't seen that one in so long.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen that one in a long time.
I think that was like the only one that he didn't even like have a cameo in. But I'd have to check on that. First Class. What do you guys think of this one?
Great casting.
Awesome.
James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender. Oh my gosh.
I was going to say that's something that I really like about the X-Men story is those 2 characters. That's what people really liked about the original X-Men trilogy was those 2 characters. What are you always looking for up there, Charles? And this is like a literal chance to examine how they used to interact when they were friends. And there is some contention there the entire movie in their different schools of thought. And I think it's really poignant at the end where Eric is holding him and says, you know, we want the same thing. And Charles Xavier's like, we do not want the same thing.
Mhm.
After all this time of thinking that they could work together and they could achieve the goals that they're trying to do. And so the casting there, awesome. Getting to see a younger, even more furious, vengeful Magneto
Mhm.
is awesome. Like watching him go and take down Nazis in Argentina. Boom.
Great.
Blood and honor. He reads the knife. Which would you like to shed first? We were just following orders. Blood then. Whoopsh. Like, boom. That's awesome. That is awesome and poignant and important to his character and his motivation and why he does what he does and why he feels so strongly about. And when Charles Xavier first puts on Cerebro's helmet and he says, "You make an excellent looking lab rat, Charles." And Charles says, "Don't ruin this for me, Eric." And Eric says, "I've been a lab rat. I know one when I see one." And that whole scene with his mother and the coin, that is shot really awesomely because it starts from that. You never see like this whole one side. It's all facing that way. And so this whole time you see him, you see the doctor, they're talking, they're having this conversation, blah, 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 blah. And then he's just like, when he can't move the coin, he's like, "I'll say this for the Nazis, their techniques work." And then you finally see from the other side of the room, and you find out that that entire wall is actually just a glass wall that shows a torture room, knives and hooks and instruments of torture just all over the wall. And it's like this scene, and now in that moment, you're just like, okay, that just got immediately more menacing, immediately more, everything's taken up a notch. Then you see his mother get killed, and then you see him crush the helmets of those guards, and you're like, yeah, kill those Nazis. You're rooting for this guy who we know goes on to become a bad guy, but that's why he's one of the best bad guys, because he's a bad guy that you're like, he's got a point a lot of the time.
But he doesn't dance, though, so you can't love him.
I disagree.
It's very rigid. You don't think that that he can dance or what?
No, I'm just looking at it like the sympathetic bad guys.
Wait, no, Debbie, wait. You don't like him?
No, I do.
Okay.
You know, I mean,
He doesn't dance because he's too rigid.
He's
I got
been through some stuff.
Innocent men! They're just following orders.
I've been at the mercy of men just following orders. Never again.
Nice.
I mean, you can see his point, even though he is the villain or becomes the villain. But even after they're older in the other movies, you can see his point. And he's the villain. But God, you know, you just love him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do at least.
Now, another thing I really liked was, again, talking about Eric and Charles and their interaction. I noticed a lot. Well, let's see if you guys see it.
Let it go! You have to let it go!
You can't.
You'll drown. You have to let go. I know what this means to you, but you're going to die. Please, Eric, calm your mind.
Let go. Calm your mind.
Use the Force, Luke. Let go.
Let go.
Not where I would have thought you were going with that at
A
all.
lot. You never know with me. But Star Wars is usually a pretty good guess, though.
Oh, no.
Where'd you think I was headed?
Honestly, either Frozen or The Last Jedi.
Let it go. Oh, my God.
Yeah, because The Last Jedi, he tells her, he says, "No, that's in the past. You got to let it go. You got to, you got to."
Okay, when I think of Star Wars and Let Go, I do not think of The Last Jedi. And and that whole point is just wrong also.
I'm just saying.
But
You asked
Don't
what
get
I
him
thought.
started.
well, and I'm telling you why you're wrong. So that's why I would never do that. I try not to think about that if I ever can help it. But no, I thought of Luke. I thought of him because he's always saying "let go," and he's, you know, I kind of see what you're talking about, let go of the past, but he doesn't say let go of the past. He actually he gives him a different memory to think about, and he says you don't have to be angry to be
Right.
powerful, which, hello. And, he says a lot of different things. There were several times during that movie where I was like, good Lord, he's just Obi-Wanning this guy. Like when he's talking about his emotions and everything like that, and a place between rage and serenity. Now, I know that's not exactly what the Jedi are talking about, but Obi-Wan even says multiple times, like, your feelings do you credit, listen to your feelings, trust your feelings, but don't let them be used, or don't let them use you. So that's right up there. I was just watching that point. It's like, calm your mind, let go.
Use the Force, Luke. Let go.
But it is tough to get through to people when their mother's been killed.
If you're in there, I'd like you to know that I agree with every word you said. We are the future. But, unfortunately, you killed my mother.
I thought that was a great scene.
That is an excellent scene. And it also is one of the things that helps bring the film full circle. It began with the coin and the testing, and it follows him searching for this guy to get his revenge. And there we have the coin.
Oh, and Kevin Bacon. He can't.
Kevin Bacon. 6
His
degrees.
revenge.
Kevin Bacon. It's great. It's amazing.
Can always remember him in this now, playing the game. Yeah, he did a really good job of Sebastian Shaw. Like when he killed Darwin. Adapt to this.
Yeah.
Oh, you just put an explosion in that guy's mouth.
Okay, Geek and I podcast. Look at his comment, because I was actually thinking the same thing.
Martha!
Way to go, Biscardi. There you go.
I was going to say her name was Shmi.
No, honestly, I was waiting for. In fact, in Captain America: Civil War, when Tony said he killed my mother, I was waiting for him to say, and her name was Martha, because that came out around the same time.
There was a Moira.
There you go.
There was a Moira in this, but no, she was no one's mother. A lot of underwear, ladies in underwear, go-go dancing. I was like, wow, sweet. They literally go to a strip club to recruit the one chick. I was like, so we're back for more ladies in underwear. And then, of course, you have Emma Frost, who's just always walking around
In her
in underwear.
underwear.
Sometimes with a cape, sometimes without. But like, aren't you in Russia? Aren't you cold? Emma Frost or there. I don't know.
Chilly.
And they're in a U-boat, which is a great. I mean, this is a nuclear war that we're trying to start. I like the clips of like JFK that they threw in.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Kind of
to
like
give
the
it
pictures from the real
well, and
stuff.
I mean, and really too. I mean, you're looking at what's it called? I can't even think of
the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, Cuban Missile Crisis. Thank you. I mean, that's basically what it was. So that really happened. Obviously, that really happened, and we were just fed the story of the Cuban Missile Crisis, and not the story of the X-Men, because the X-Men are real.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. Look out for those X's. So Azazel was in this too, talking about loving teleporters. I really liked him. He'd said almost nothing the entire time. He just went around teleporting and kicking total butt. One of my favorite scenes is when they start hearing the poofs at the base. Thump, 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 thump. What is that? And all Azazel's doing is just grabbing every normal person in the CIA base, teleporting up a couple 100 feet, letting them go, and teleporting, grabbing someone else. That's how, like, the main guy that recruited most of them, that kind of heavyset guy, he dies during that. That's how he dies. He drops right in front of him. Blam.
Oliver Platt. It was Oliver Platt, for crying out loud.
I'm sorry, man, who couldn't remember Cuban Missile Crisis. Why don't you cut me some slack? Take it easy. Like,
but Oliver Platt was in Lake Placid.
What did you know? Yay!
And he was in Ready to Rumble.
What am I supposed to be? IMDb? I'm just supposed to know this? Every movie that every random person has been in? God, the standards you guys have for me are incredible. The bar is way too high. I am just a man. I think we're all aware of that.
With this collar on, my superpower is just
Unbridled cancer. Give me a bow and arrow, I'm basically Hawkeye.
Here we go. Well, if you're Magneto,
I was going to say he did, so why not?
I suppose the question that you're really posing is, if while he's lifting the submarine, why doesn't that weigh down the plane by the weight of the submarine? And it's because magnetism.
Yeah.
Magnets, how do they work?
Because we needed the movie to win.
He's Magneto, so he can do whatever. He can just do whatever. And also, by this point, he's learned to harness that point between rage and serenity. So, but yeah, I don't know. I was thinking the same thing when I was watching. I was like, there's X-Men. All right, let's move past it. Beast kind of looked ridiculous anytime he tried to talk. Between like the prosthetics that they did on his mouth, because even if you look at this Beast, that's from like in down the corner there, that's from like I think Days of Future Past, where they went a little less crazy on the. I think because anytime he tried to talk, it either didn't move realistically, and then when I was watching, I was like, okay, they re-recorded him talking because the prosthetic doesn't, or they just actually use CGI to make it move. And then I was like, well, now it just looks completely different than when it's not moving the other time. So tough call there, but was it worth it? Just like Mystique. I know that what's her face, Jennifer Lawrence. Before I forget someone's name, she didn't like doing the Mystique makeup, and I didn't like her as Mystique. Thoughts? And I didn't like the storyline that they came up with for her and Charles and all that. What do you guys think on that?
Was not a fan.
Yeah.
I liked her. I mean,
was not a fan of her as a character. And I really didn't like the whole like, oh, I've been living with Charles Xavier in his mansion for like 20 years. And then in the original X-Men films, like there's never a point where I think he even mentions her name or talks about her at all. It's like, oh man, they must have had a really hard breakup. It's like, it's just it wasn't ever a plot line before this film.
The continuity was messed up.
And then they're like, how do we fix the continuity? Days of Future Past. And trust me, that did not fix anything. But we'll talk about that another day.
That's next week.
I enjoy the film, but it does not help the continuity problems of X-Men. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. And that's when all this is going to come together. It literally brings the original characters in with the new characters. The only one not there is Deadpool. So.
Oh, by the way, I did look. You are right. Dark Phoenix Wolverine was not in Dark Phoenix. There you go. There's one for the win.
I know some things.
Chalk it up.
I know some things. That's right. But you know what's happening this week that I forgot to mention at the beginning because I'm an idiot. There's a Dungeons and Dragons game happening on Wednesday, correct? October 29th.
That's Friday, sir.
Okay, Friday then. I don't know. Someone said Wednesday.
I was going to say, why is it on a Wednesday?
No,
I don't know when it's happening.
The 29th is a Friday night.
Tune into Geek News Now for details. Check out the Facebook page. Check out the Geek News.
Oh, here we go again. It's on the Facebook page. It'll be on the Facebook page. It'll be on the website. Just
curse you, Thor. Thundering and striking down my Wi-Fi.
There will be a lot of details out tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll have tons of details. See, froze again. Look at that. Well, he seems to be back.
You know what? Who knows? Shouldn't have cursed Thor. Damn you, Thor! So yes, stay tuned to Geek News Now for information on the Dungeons and Dragons game. I watched the first one, very entertaining, very fun. Looking forward to this one as well. And I also didn't mention this. We talked about it a little last week. The Marvel delays. I'm just going to leave that up on the screen for a second. Things have been pushed back. Most upsetting to me is Doctor Strange. But pretty much everything across the board. Push back, push back, push back. My gosh, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I thought that was real.
Totally upsets me.
It's upsetting. Yep. So everything's getting pushed back. So it's going to be longer than we even originally thought for the X-Men to join. Not that we're sure that the X-Men are going to be a part of any of those, but if they don't include them in Multiverse of Madness, that's just a missed opportunity. What? What just
So
what,
no. I had a thought about this because
a thought?
yeah,
that is gasp worthy.
It said, I think it was in First Class where they were talking about the mutations, and he said something along the lines of mutations came from the radiation poisoning, and it altered genes, blah 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 blah. So I was looking at it going, wow, there was a lot of gamma radiation when Thanos did the snap. So is that how they're going to tie X-Men to the MCU? Because he launched a bunch of radiation there, and that would alter the DNA of people and cause mutations.
I hope not.
Oh, why? Because it's too easy.
Yeah, that's dumb. I like more along the lines of like that snap is what wakes up the Eternals, whatever's going to happen in that movie. Because I mean, the whole Earth is like a celestial egg, and blah blah blah. That's going to unleash all kinds of radiation as well. I'm hoping that Multiverse of Madness is going to do something to introduce them, or there's going to be like just another reality where the X-Men are there or something. But I hope it's not just like they just start springing up out of the ground from nowhere. Because then, like, how did Professor S exist if it's just now happening? Or how did so? I just hope it has nothing to do with the snaps, or at least not in that way.
Good, because Magneto, his was back in the 40s, back in.
That's what I'm saying.
World War II,
yeah. Every single mutant would have to be like from then on, or maybe that just causes it to happen with way more frequency. Well, you can write it off in a couple different ways. I'm just kind of hoping for something else, especially like we're gonna have to see what they do with Spider-Man and how Spider-Man's fitting into the MCU. And like that may contain some answers, but I really think Doctor Strange 2 is a great opportunity. Listen here, Noob Master. I have that clip. I think I do. Where's Noob Master? Oh no. Well, too late. Oh, there he is.
He's back. That kid on the TV just called me a dickhead again.
Noob Master, hey, it's Thor again. You know, the God of Thunder? Listen, buddy, if you don't log off this game immediately, I'm gonna fly over to your house, come down to that basement you're hiding in, rip off your arms, and shove them up your butt!
Thor's back on my side. All right.
Nice.
Good.
You
Sorry
have
for
appeased the
cursing.
Thunder God.
Oh, man. Is my popcorn done? It's been 5 years. Oh, man, that's good. First Class.
I also like this beast better than the.
Then Frasier?
Yeah.
Kelsey Grammer, yeah. I gotta agree with you. I thought the Beast was better. Yeah.
I like the actor. I still think Frasier. I said Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser.
No, yeah, Kelsey Grammer. I just like his voice, and like seeing that come out of Beast, I was like,
his voice was that was and based on the old '90s cartoon show, yes, that was. I mean, it was like spot on.
Spot on.
Yeah, I never seen the cartoon, so I'm just going by the different
Unfortunate
movies.
for you.
Wow, you should go on Disney Plus and watch them all like tomorrow.
It's on Disney Plus. Oh yeah, because that's
Yeah, I think
Fox
Wait,
cartoons.
did I see that on there?
I'm pretty sure they did. I remember seeing it. Yeah.
It's on Disney Plus,
Oh,
and the old Spider-Man from the '90s is on Disney Plus as well.
And Gambit in that show, awesome. Rogue was way better too. Rogue in the
All of
X-Men
them were
films,
better.
well, yeah, that's fair. Rogue though, that's because also she had like the Captain Marvel powers, which the Rogue in this never had, which is one of the, I think, most awesome things about Rogue was that at some point she met Captain Marvel, used her power stealing ability on her so hard that she permanently keeps like the abilities of flight and like super strength and other stuff. But hopefully maybe they can make that happen in the next iteration of the X-Men.
In the Disney iteration.
The Disney men. Yeah. Disney X-Men. Should be fun. We'll see. We'll see who they recast as Magneto, Professor X, all kinds of stuff.
Wolverine.
That's I tell you.
That's a big one. Is who's going to take?
It's going to be
Wolverine.
hard. Because they're so good, you can't imagine anybody else playing them. So it's like, I mean, their casting hasn't, for the most part, failed. But yeah, this is going to be hard.
At least for the big ones. I mean, you've got the more recognizable characters, Mystique and Beast and X, Professor X and Magneto and Wolverine. So and the minor, and even still the minor ones like Will.i.am in the Origins movie. I mean, he was kind of a minor character, but the casting was still good.
So do you think, since they're not doing the prolonged, like signing actors for, 10, 12 movies, they're not going to do that anymore. So they say, do you think they'll be casting younger, middle-aged, or older as far as character-wise?
They might just go all three, set things in different time periods so that they can use a younger version of Professor X here and then have someone else cast to play an older version in a different, blah, blah, blah. And then
you can have multiple sets of movies.
Exactly. Yeah. Without having to like pay the same people for 9 movies. You could make 9 movies, but have like 3 young, 3 middle-aged, 3 older. You know what I mean? And get away with not having to pay the same people or whatever. They'll find a way. If it comes to them not spending money and making more money, they will find a way.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to, because I know the big hoopla about casting Hugh Jackman was because he was way too tall. I mean, he's like, what, 6'2"?
He's 6'2", and Wolverine's like 5'3" or 5'4".
Yeah, so it's like, who the hell are you going to cast?
They make Tom Cruise look tall. They make him look... I mean, it's movie magic. Frodo...
Yeah.
Okay, Gimli is the tallest member of the cast, of the Lord of the Rings cast, and he plays the dwarf. So
he plays the dwarf, yeah.
It is possible to get around this type of thing. So, anything else on First Class specifically before we go into... And I thought I will say this about First Class, out of like First Class and Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, First Class, I think, was far and away the best one.
Of the
basically the
McAvoy, the McAvoy series. Yeah.
McAvoy or Stewart. These timelines are getting ridiculous. Thank you, Deadpool. We love you, Deadpool. Also, I liked that they used the new in Deadpool 2 when he's
Deadpool
in the
2.
X Mansion. How come I only see you two around here? Isn't there like a whole bunch of you guys? I don't have big enough budget to get the whole crowd, and they're like standing. They close the door on him, and it's like Beast and McAvoy, and like, oh man,
it was
like all the new cast.
It was Quicksilver and
hey, what the hell was that?
I'm sorry, it was Ralph Boner. My bad.
Quicksilver, that be. Oh, what an error that was. Anyway,
maybe they'll fix it.
did it on purpose. Yeah, we planned it. Even though we self-confessed, we didn't think it'd be an issue, because that was a good idea to admit to. Anyway, ridiculous. But that's also another good reason why you should introduce the X-Men and Doctor Strange. You could help explain away that whole boner situation. And that's a situation which needs explaining.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
You always need to explain away a boner.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
I wouldn't mind seeing a new Juggernaut. Or like a big Juggernaut. Because that, again, like the original X-Men, that was more of a realistic looking Juggernaut. Like that's about as big as a human man can get to be. But Juggernaut, like in the comics, and he's like...
And Deadpool too.
Yeah, exactly. Deadpool 2. They did a great job, I think, with him in that, like, of making him a person and a half. Like, that's huge, you know, like giant. And the helmet was better too. Although I did like when Elliot Page called him a dickhead with that first helmet, and I was like, well, that's exactly what that looks like. If you didn't want that being called out, you should have given him the traditional helmet.
Don't you know who I am?
And that helmet actually is to help protect him from Professor Xavier, partially, because and it has 4 bolts that go into him. I remember, I think it was like X-Men Evolution or something like that. They did a really good episode of trying to stop the Juggernaut, and they had to remove the different like bolts from his helmet thing to get it off so that Professor X could take him down. And he's Professor X's like half brother.
Yeah.
Kane Marco or something like that. Yeah. It's crazy. But I'd definitely like to see something like that happen. And with Deadpool, and they could literally just take that one and put him in Disney, although he would probably use better language. Let's see.
Dubstep's like pussies. You're so dark! Do you sure you're not from the DC universe?
I love dubstep.
But yeah, Juggernaut was great. Juggernaut, you're my absolute favorite. So I definitely like to see more of him. There's more potential there for that character. First Class, good. Yeah. Anything else on First Class? So we still got the Wolverine, Samurai,
Ronin.
So we move on to the Wolverine. Another one which had a pretty awesome beginning, which starts with a flashback to World War II. And I think, what was it?
It's Nagasaki.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he saves a Japanese officer. He was imprisoned, saves a Japanese officer that was about to kill himself. And that becomes, that's the main plot point. That's why he goes back to Japan. This guy is now dying, and he calls on Wolverine. But before that, there's like the whole thing where he's living in the wilderness. What did you guys think about that? The beginning, he's traumatized over what happened in Last Stand, over having to kill Jean. He's like got these terrible nightmares. He's living out in the woods of Canada with a bear or nearby to a bear.
I didn't like all the... I mean, I get what they were doing, but I just didn't like all the, where she would just pop up all the time.
Where she was in the dreams and everything.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm over it.
He has PTSD.
I know. I was by the end of the movie, I was just like, oh my God, go away. I was just tired of seeing her. I was just,
yeah, I can see that. And then, so the hunters use poison-tipped arrows to kill that bear. And that pisses him off. And he stops the hunters, let's say. In a way that courteous way that he has.
I don't use poison-tip arrows. Then you
then
ain't
you
got nothing to worry about.
And that's, where he meets that samurai chick also. And she cuts like the legs off that chair, and it takes a second for it to actually like fall down. And I was like, ooh, neat. And she's a mutant, but her only ability, and this is something I actually really like, it's in that music video I was talking about earlier. She mentions that she sees his death. That's her mutant ability. She sees people dying. And she says, I see you on your back, covered in blood, holding your own heart in your hand. Now, in this film, he literally has to like cut open his heart. He's lying on his table. It kind of like, what's it called? His pulse stops or whatever, but then it comes back because the thing that was stopping his mutant ability, he takes it off. And so a lot of people were thinking to themselves, oh, she saw that and he did die, but he comes back, blah, blah, blah. Logan, we're going to talk about that entire movie another time. One of my absolute favorites. When he dies, he's on his back, covered in blood, holding his daughter's hand. And so it's like on your back, covered in blood, holding your heart. In
your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Very awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It was, yes.
I think that's cool. I really like that. I don't know. What else about the Wolverine? Like, dislike?
It wasn't my favorite movie. I mean, there were some elements that I liked, but I think First Class would probably be my favorite out of this trilogy.
First Class and Origins both had a lot more mutants doing mutant type things. This had a lot of regular people, mostly like shooting at Wolverine and his healing's on the fritz. So it's more of a problem than it would normally be.
I think one of the issues that I have with not just these X-Men movies, but also with prior and post is there just seems to be a whole lot of mutants. Like everybody's a mutant, and I can do this and you can do that. And in the comic books, I mean, when I walked into the X-Men movies, the only thing I knew about the X-Men was what I had seen on the cartoon shows. So I knew Wolverine, I knew Rogue, I knew Gambit, I knew Storm, you know, the big ones. But then you introduce like Toad, and it's like, who is he? Who is why is he here? You got the Porcupine guy from X-Men 3. And it's like, who are you? I mean, now there may be somebody out there that has read the comic books like back to front, and they know like every character, and that may be an actual character. But like, okay, so the Will.I.Am character, I had no idea who that was. Fred Dukes, okay, the Blob, okay, I get that one. That I've seen the Blob. I know who that is. I know he's one of the villain rogue or gallery. But
well, there's
I don't know.
Lots of mutants. I mean, even in like X-Men 3, for instance, when you've got the people, the Cures coming out, and you got all the protesters and stuff, and it's not necessarily just mutants, but also like family of mutants that are like, but when you talk about, like, there's a ton of them out there, even in X2, when they're searching, find all the mutants, there's a crap ton of red dots all over the place. And the thing about that's the thing about the power levels. Like, there's tons and tons of mutants, but rarely do you get ones that are actually like legit dangerous, like dangerous, and those are the ones that usually end up being, well, those are Omega level mutants. That's, I mean, Magneto's like a level, I think 4 or 5, but I mean, still, like, Toad's probably like a 3, Storm's probably like a 4, you know, so, and Toad loses. You know what happens to Toad when he gets struck by lightning? Same thing that happens to everything else. But yeah, so there's tons of mutants out there. But there's like that one kid too. He sticks out his tongue. It's like a forked tongue. I think that's all he does. At the end of the movie, he gets rescued. I've never seen him do anything else. Just the tongue. Just that's it. Hey, that's enough to be considered a mutant. And I mean, sure, in First Class, he's literally just hitting on chicks, telling them their mutations. You gotta. Now that's not the gene mutation, you know. It's like, but still, anything. He hits on the CIA agent. He's like, oh, an M1F5 mutation, and let's just talk about the color of her hair. I'm just like, oh my god, you just literally will use that on anyone. Professor X, you dog. And then I'm like, well, get it in before you get shot in the spine. So
get it in before you can't use it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's not easy. I also love all the jokes that they make about his hair. in First Class. You know, Beast,
Knowing
when they
what's
put
coming.
you know, Beast,
Knowing
when they
what's
put
coming.
when they put the helmet on, it's like, you sure I can't shave my head or shave your head? Don't touch my hair. It's like,
He says at the end something like, I guess I'm really a professor now. I need to start going bald.
yeah. Next thing you know, I'll go bald.
Yeah.
What do they call you? Wheels. Oh man.
I didn't like. I'm not even sure of her name. The Serpent Lady. I didn't really
See,
care
again,
for her.
another just random mutant with some kind of power that she may actually be somebody, but you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, she's in the comics. A lot of these characters were more used in the comics than necessarily like on the cartoon. And if you just know people from the cartoon, then yeah, you're not going to recognize some of these people. But some of them were used in the cartoon more than they were in the comics, and some of them were used in the movie, and obviously in different ways. So in the X-Men world, there's supposed to be like a lot of mutants. So, and that's why the whole thing with introducing them to the MCU, that's why it's going to be a hard thing to do, because you can't just, well, now all of a sudden there's mutants everywhere. It's like, this is a whole thing that originally started. I mean, the X-Men are about intolerance and civil rights and things like that. And the stuff that they go through and their motivations, like, how are you going to have Magneto and how is he going to be motivated if, I don't know. Well, they're already running into troubles like that, because if he was in the Holocaust camps, which is in the late 1930s, yeah, early 1940s,
right?
Then, and he's what? Let's say he's 12, because it hits around puberty. Then what? Nowadays
He'd be dead.
Yeah,
he'd be
like
dead of old age.
Really old, yeah. And it's like believable, like in 2000, like, yes, okay, that's how old they would be. What's up with these octogenarians running around, you know, killing everybody? Well, they have mutant power, but now it's like he's not invincible against age. He ages. He'll eventually die of old age. So I don't know how they're going to keep using that particular storyline for Magneto. You know what I mean? Like, that's.
Well, and that's what I said.
Time jumps.
I think I had mentioned this at some point. They may do it like they did with Tony, because, you know, Tony had his thing to where, in the comics, if I recall, he was injured and he built the suit in the cave, and he did that during World War II. And what did they do to modernize it? They just bumped it up, and okay, well, that actually didn't happen in World War II. That happened in the war in Afghanistan or Iraq or wherever they were. So they just bumped it up. They'll find some way to do that same thing, to where they'll say, okay, well, Eric now is not, instead of in World War II, maybe he's in, you know, I don't know, the Gulf War. I don't know. I'm just throwing an idea out there.
Find a way to modernize it, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that's a really good backstory for that particular character. And, you know, they might do something again like Time Jump or something like that. It's like, oh, well, he went through a portal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, multiverse.
Anything's possible. Ah, yes. On this Earth, the Holocaust happened in the 70s. There you go.
Or it's the multiverse. It may have happened in the 40s. They just jumped through the hole, and there you go. Justice for Gambit.
In Deadpool, they fixed the Deadpool problem in Wolverine. So when are they finally going to do that for Gambit? Justice for Gambit. Couldn't agree with you more. I would be interested in seeing like a Gambit movie. I think that was one of the ones that, again, they had planned, possibly with Channing Tatum. There's, if you search Channing Tatum Gambit, you'll see the pictures, the fan art, all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a fan of his and his work comedically, which I think you should have some of that with Gambit. He's a trickster, a wry fella from New Orleans, constantly hitting on Rogue. I think it's hilarious when people hit on Rogue. Like, you know what's up with her? Okay, whatever. Go for it.
You know, you can't do anything with Rogue, right?
Yeah, it's like, power to you.
No,
but
it would be power to
Gambit-
her.
Yeah, quite literally. Gambit is actually like classified as a really, really powerful mutant because everyone's like, well, so what? He can throw cards and they explode. It's like, that's actually not his power. He can touch anything and make it explode. Charge anything with power. Anything he touch. He uses playing cards because he can throw them. He's a gambler. What is it? It's innocuous to have a deck of cards. Who cares? But he knows how to throw them, and they then explode. And if a playing card can explode with as much force as he's with that, imagine what happens if he just touches a wall and does it to the entire wall, which is things that he's done in the comics before. People chain him up, tie him to a wall, and he's just like, okay. Boom, like just blow up this entire thing. And he has hypnosis only with the opposite sex, but that's kind of like his charm. But it actually is also legitimately considered like slightly hypnotic. And I just think he's hilarious. It'd be great to see him mixing it up and really be more of a Gambit film, because obviously X-Men Origins, again, he's just like tossed in there. Gambit, for like as much as as I will defend, there's tons of mutants out there and throw in as many as you want, blah blah blah. That's not one that to just be thrown in. That's not just a random. Gambit is a big deal. All right, respect, justice for Gambit. I'm with you. I'm with you, Robbie. I would be down for that. Maybe they could do it like in a Deadpool, Gambit, and Cable. Go.
Deadpool 3.
Yeah, Deadpool, Gambit, and Cable. That would. Hello.
Shut up and take my money.
I'm in.
That's what he should have done at the end of Deadpool 2. At the end of Deadpool 1, he said, "Oh, we're going to make another movie, and this time we're going to have Cable." He should have popped in. We're going to make another movie, and this time we're going to get Gambit.
And just people would have been like, of course, when Deadpool 2 came out, that was probably around the time when they knew they were being gobbled up by the mouse. So a lot of different plans that they had at that point were like, that's not going to happen.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lensher.
Charles Xavier.
Go fuck yourself.
Ow.
I gotta say, so I watched this again the other day, and it was on. I was just on Hulu, and I was watching TV, and it was on Freeform. We got to that scene, and he said that line, and not only did they bleep the word, they pixelated his mouth too.
Is that your mutant ability? How do you do that?
It's hilarious.
It's PG-13. Everybody gets one.
You get one.
Well, not everybody. You get one. Not everybody.
You get one.
But yeah. What are you gonna do?
That's why the Snyder Cut was rated R, because they said it twice.
And they were like, we can't possibly do this movie without both of these. They're both essential F-bombs. Oh, man. Good stuff. The Wolverine, though. One scene I really did like was after he did the self-surgery and got the thing off, and he fights the samurai guy. And the guy cuts him across the face, which, if this was a regular person with a regular skeleton, would have just sheared through the top of his head. But, of course, since it's him, it just goes whoosh, and he turns back around, and you just see the cut heal up over his face. And they do that in almost every Wolverine movie. Actually, when I made that music video, I tried during the chorus to literally use points where either he gets shot and then turns back around, and then you see it heal up, or that one where he gets cut in the face and then turns back around. Because that's the moment when the person fighting him realizes, oh, it doesn't matter if I can shoot you in the head. Oh, it doesn't matter if I can put a sword into your dome. Because you just come back up and this guy's face, let me see if I think I took a screenshot of it. When he sees him heal, it's ridiculous. Oh, he's so scared. Here it is. That's him looking at the healing, and he's just like,
What are you?
Oh, yeah. Are you? And the whole movie was really just an attempt to steal Wolverine's healing power, to save that old dude from dying, the old man who he saved originally at the beginning of the movie. That guy wants to take away Wolverine's healing power. And he does it by getting in a giant robot suit and then with the samurai robot. And I think that's the point in the movie where I was like, I think this is actually even based off stuff in the comics, but I was just sitting there.
It's I'm trying to recall what the name of it was, but there was a series where Logan went to Japan and had a big set of adventures in Japan, and that's kind of what this was based on.
And I thought that was cool, and but I was like, I don't know if this was part of that story because I haven't read it. I like the idea of it, him being, the culture and the idea of the Ronin and the wandering samurai kind of deal that like he is, that, it fits in well. I think it's probably a good story. I'll have to check it out if I get the chance. And I was like, I don't know if that was in the comics or if you did it originally. I hope it was in the comics. I hope that there were people that read the comics and then they saw that giant samurai robot and they were like, yeah, they did it. Because I was sitting there going, a giant samurai robot? What?
Well, now the Silver Samurai was an X-Men character within the comics. I know absolutely nothing about him, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't a robot. I think he was a mutant of some kind. I'd have to look that up, but...
And then the lightsabers. I mean, energy sword, or whatever it is. It can cut through anything. That's a lightsaber. You can cut through adamantium, apparently, because that's what they do. Apparently, the only way they can get in this movie, the entire reason that they have the giant robotic samurai suit is just for Wolverine to cut off like his claws so they can then drill in there and get his healing power, however that worked exactly. Why didn't they attempt this like earlier in the film? Like, was the robot not ready? I think I missed something. I don't know.
My question is, and it's been a while since I've seen a lot of these. That's why I'm rewatching them on weekends for the next show. And I'm trying to recall, how does he get his claws back?
Oh, I don't think they ever actually explain that. Because at the end of this one, right, is when we see these guys show up at like the airport or whatever. And so that leads into like Days of Future Past stuff. Very cool. But the next time we see Wolverine is in Days of Future Past, like in the future, and they never explain how he got his back.
Adamantium came back.
Yeah, because even, let's say, okay, so he got his healing power back. He'll heal now. He has bone claws underneath, so that'll grow back. But it's not like they're going to grow back with adamantium on him, right?
Well, that's what I kept waiting for. Is like, is that going to grow back? Does that,
You know what we'll do? We'll ignore it.
Maybe no one will notice.
And then...
No one will know. No one will know.
They haven't criticized any of our previous X-Men decisions, so... Don't worry, we'll fix it in the time travel movie. Then they're making the time travel movie. Even with the road cut, which is like 3 hours long, there's no mention of that. I think they made the entire thing, and they're like, we never explained how he got his claws back. It's time travel. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Different timeline.
It's a different multiverse.
Don't worry about it. All right. Oh well. All right. Hour and 15 minutes. That's pretty good. Anything else on the Wolverine or any of these three X-Men
Not
films?
my favorite.
The Wolverine, not your favorite. No, I wouldn't say it's my favorite. It's enjoyable. Like the action is good. I like the train fight on top of the train. That's entertaining.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that was insane.
signs, getting people blasted on the high speed train. So that was fun. Again, in this one, there's like that whole part with his romantic interests, and I'm just like, well, I don't know. It's not doing that much for me. It's not.
Wolverine doesn't need romance.
I'd rather see him calling somebody bub and punching him in the face.
Yeah, I didn't like the
Sorry.
romance between him and whatever her name was.
It's also
Also-
like, he's constantly
Cora-
haunted by these lost loves, and like, how haunted are you by this other woman if you're just like, hey, let's get frisky?
I thought the scene where he was at the hotel and they're interrogating the minister of justice. You know, where did you take her? And he chucks him out the window. I didn't like your answer. She goes, "Did you know there was a pool down there?" He's like, "Nope."
Nope.
It was amazing.
Wolverine. And that's another thing, like in the Spider-Man cartoons, even like Ultimate Spider-Man, you get to see Spider-Man, because this is, again, the cartoons, and there's different rules for what characters they can use. You get to see Spider-Man hanging out with Deadpool. You get to see Spider-Man hang out with Wolverine. There's one episode where like Wolverine steals a Quinjet, and like Shield's like, what's happening? And like Wolverine's just like, take it easy, bub. And and then Spider-Man's like, see you, Mr. Wolverine. And I'm just like, see, this is fun. I want to see. That's why it's such a shame that like the licenses and everything, that we couldn't have Hugh Jackman's Wolverine with Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man with Tom Holland's spot. Like it's that would have been awesome.
It's a sad state of affairs.
Or like a full Avengers. I'm looking forward to that. Like, when will be the first Avengers to have like everyone,
The full complement.
yeah, like Fantastic Four, just everybody. And it's been delayed, but it's on its way. Yeah.
That'll be the untitled, the very bottom untitled Marvel would be my guess, is the Fantastic Four.
X-Men. Oh yeah, Fantastic Four.
No, the two canceled ones are the X-Men, because they were going to do the Dark Phoenix saga again.
No. Yeah. How do we introduce the X-Men? I have an idea. Yeah, go ahead. The Phoenix Saga. That's perfect.
Let's do it again.
No one could be tired of it. Seeing a thing done wrong several times. Yeah, no one gets tired of that. Goodness.
We'll do it. We'll do it right this time, so people will love it.
I couldn't believe they did it with the new X-Men or whatever. I was like, are you nuts? Why'd you save the Apocalypse for the third movie if you wanted to go big and do something else for the second movie? Phoenix Saga. Oh, good Lord. No, I'm not. I don't want to see that anytime soon. I'm fine without.
Oh, the Phoenix Saga?
Yeah.
Dark
And
Phoenix?
then the next thing you know, the Fantastic Four is going to be like, there was a wave of energy that just hit the plane. I think it was the Phoenix Force. I'm going to be like, no, shut up. Don't do it. Anyway, I think that about does it for this week on MCU Mondays. Make sure you come back next week. We're probably going to be talking more X-Men. There's more X-Men films out there, but we'll also be talking about anything else that happens in the Marvel universe and the MCU between now and then. Hopefully we'll get some new trailers. We'll get some new stuff coming out. And what is it, the week after that Eternals come out?
November 5th?
November 5th. It's like, that's like next week.
It's next Friday.
Next Friday.
So next Monday, we'll probably be talking a little bit more about the Eternals as we get ready for that. And then the Monday after next, we'll be talking Eternals.
Yeah. Gotta go to the theater again.
Oh, poor Debbie's got to go out.
Killing me, people.
All right. Well, that's it for us here on MCU Mondays. What are we going to leave you with today?
Excuse me,